Okay, so this is the Expert Branding Do-It-Yourself Complete Guide. So we're going to talk about writing your book, getting reviews, interviews, and establishing yourself as an expert so that you can get clients and generate the reviews and everything that you need there. So the core problems with Mentorface are establishing your expertise, creating social proof, and marketing beyond. And we're going to talk about how, starting with your book, we're going to resolve each of these issues. So I will tell you right now, this video is the summary of everything. I'm going to try to go in depth enough in each of these categories to make sure you can do it on your own. But if you don't feel comfortable with the information here, there is or are in development videos that address each of these individually. Some of them are just training. Others are me actually walking a client through the process in a one-on-one so you can see that step-by-step detailed process. This isn't a course for sale. All the trainings and everything are free. But we do offer services to help people do that. We're largely a editing company, and we work with other companies that do covers and create interviews and videos and all kinds of stuff like that. And so even though we're going to walk you through the entire process on how to do this on your own, some people need somebody there to kind of hold their hand and walk them through it, or you want to have a consultant there to check and make sure you're doing everything, that the ideas are clear, or an editor. And so these are the kind of services and packages that we offer. So you can keep that in mind at the end of the video. If you see something you think, you know what, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that on my own, or if you're the kind of person who just hasn't been able to get around to it, just having that deadline, being forced to meet with somebody and knock that out can sometimes be the push you need. So that's what we offer as far as our company goes, and why we're offering the training here for free is just because we're aware that a lot of people will encounter difficulties in specific areas where they're likely to hire our services to deal with that. So establishing your expertise is the first thing we want to look at here. And as I said, that is all about writing the book. And we're going to talk about getting it published and creating the audiobook, and then how to leverage that to get interviews and to generate reviews and other content that you'll use in promoting your book. The second thing is you want to develop a program, whether this is a speaking engagement or even a full seminar with exercises and training or workbooks. However it is you want to approach developing a program for working with your clients and then being able to scale that to a large number of people. So the big focus here is going to be writing the book, because that's really the first step to leveraging everything else that's going to come. So here are the top 6 best sellers in self-help and happiness on Amazon. And that's where most of these people started, is they started writing these books. Now, eventually they have leveraged that into in news interviews and speaking engagements and bigger things. But it starts with the book, and that is what establishes their expertise. And we'll talk more about how it does that in just a bit here. So the second thing we want to look at is social proof. This is reviews of your book and your program. And then we have testimonials. And these are different from reviews because they are collected to deal with specific concerns. And the example I have is actually from my own dating life. And I was dating this girl named Amanda. And things were going really well. We dated for several weeks, and I thought everything was great. And when I was with her, she seemed to be very happy and really enjoying our time together. And we had a date scheduled for Friday. I contacted her on Wednesday to see. I sent her a text to see if she was available to talk and whatnot. And she texted back. She'd just had a ton of work dumped on her. She was completely swamped, and she didn't have time to talk. And she'd probably have to cancel on Friday. So we canceled Friday. And, then I contacted her again because we rescheduled for the following week. And the message I got back was that she had thought about it and decided she wasn't interested. And that was it. And it was a really confusing end to me because, from my perspective, we'd had no conflicts. We had a lot in common. We seemed to really enjoy our time together. And so it was just really confusing how it ended that way. So a year later, or so, give or take. I was at a book signing, and she showed up, and she waited around until everyone had left, and it was just me packing up my things to leave. And she approached me and talked to me and had kind of wanted to see if I wanted to go out again. And I had a concern, and that is that I never had an explanation or an understanding as to why she ended it the first time. And so my concern was simply this: why will it be different this time? Why are you not going to just casually discard me again? We had no conflicts, no difficulties, no arguments. We had a lot in common. And suddenly she just decided she was done. So my concern was, why would it be different? And so as you go about with your book and your program, you are going to encounter people with specific concerns related to it. The time it takes to read the book. They've tried programs before that didn't work. If they're buying into a seminar program, there's going to be the cost, or maybe the time, the weekend. And so what you'll do with testimonials is you'll gather stories from people who had similar concerns but decided to commit anyway. And these will be the stories you tell people as you encounter other people with those concerns. So that's what I mean when I'm saying testimonials. A lot of people will say testimonials and reviews kind of interchangeably, but I mean something very specific. It's a very specific kind of story you're going to gather to deal with people's concerns as they come up, because they will come up. Maybe you'll gather a testimonial from someone who does an interview with you, and maybe they were concerned. They're like, he'd only ever done one interview before. I was really worried he wouldn't be good on the show, but he had a lot to say. He was very organized, clear in his presentation, gave a great interview. You can gather a story so that people are concerned, be like, hey, I've got this concern. You can tell them your story, or you can refer them to that person. Be like, hey, you can talk to this person. They'll tell you their own experience. So that's those. And then interviews, particularly the audiobook and some other things we're going to do, we can leverage to get you interviews. And podcasts are the best place to get interviews because they tend to be a very specific audience. And a lot of times the interviewers are somewhat desperate. They have to work fairly hard to get people on their show who are going to produce a good interview and be relevant to their audience. So if you can show them up front that you will achieve those two things for them, you'll be a good interview, and you'll address the things their audience wants specifically, they will take you on in a second. Be happy to have you. It'll save them a ton of work. So we'll talk about developing a media kit and a segment piece in trying to book those interviews. Looks like my slide's not rolling over. There we go. So in establishing the social proof, so here we're coming back to this book, Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And you can see his reviews. Right, he's got over 2,000 reviews, and if you look down below, it'll even tell you that 2,100 of them are positive. So we'll come back to him as kind of a case study throughout here. So getting out of obscurity. So reviews and the social proof, all of that is important once you get the traffic to where you need it. But getting out of obscurity is about reaching all the people who don't know about you at all. You having the reviews is there as a social proof once they know you. And so interviews are a big part of that. Having a blog, using SEO, building an email list, cross-promotion, and social media. Those are the big tools we're going to use and talk about on getting out of obscurity. So this author here of the book we've been looking at, if you go to the front page of Google and you click on videos, this is what comes up. It is all him. And while a lot of them are on YouTube, if you look at the uploader, you can see that these are professional organizations, right? You've got the Glenn Beck Book List. You've got Inspire Nation and New York Reel. And what this is, these are organizations doing their own promotional work of the interview because it promotes their program. It helps grow their audience. And so he is now being promoted by other people because he's now connected to them. And that's one of the real powers of the interview, is there's now somebody else working hard to get your name known and to spread your message and your ideas. And so that is a real powerful tool in getting these interviews, in helping you get out of that obscurity. And finally, we'll talk about marketing, everything from social media, split testing, giveaways, how to find your target audience. Now, a lot of times people think they know what their audience is, but particularly Facebook, running ads on Facebook can very quickly generate some demographic details about how to target what audience is really responding to your message and ideas. So these are just shots from my own marketing campaigns. And if you notice this one down here in the corner, my mouse will do what I want it to. This is Facebook, and if you blow it up, I don't know if you'll be able to, or if you even care. You can actually see the age group and gender of people responding to the ad there, and that is powerful information in approaching podcasts, in approaching other platforms that you want to market on, or just try to interview with. It's very powerful data. And so even though myself, just because I'm a fiction writer, Facebook ads are not the number one go-to for me. They were very important early on in identifying the demographics I want to target in the other fields that I use that are more effective. So establishing your expertise. So that was the summary. That's everything we're going to go through and talk about here. So now we're going to go a little bit more in depth. You've heard this before. Your book is your business card, evidence that you know what you are talking about. And we will... Okay, so this is now the in-depth look at establishing your expertise. We're going to walk through in detail the writing of the book and the process. So the first thing you need to do is establish that expertise, and your book is going to do that. It is your business card. It's evidence that you know what you're talking about, that you're organized, you're driven. And we're going to show you how to get that first draft done in a week, how to find an editor or do some self-editing, how to create a book cover or find a designer, write a blurb and prep an Amazon sales page, and create an audiobook. So again, we're going back to our case study here with Kamal. Here's this book. It's doing very well. But the important thing is that all the interviews and the coverage and the exposure he's had, it started with him writing the book. It started with him writing the book and then leveraging that and it becoming popular. And so for a lot of people in the mentoring and coaching business, the book is not the end goal. The book is the stepping stone. From that comes the speaking engagements and the seminars and clients who work with you one-on-one. All of that is building that business out. But the book is the first stepping stone you're going to want to use. So if we look at him, we have this book. It's a big seller there on Amazon. It's got lots of reviews. But if we look him up on Wikipedia, he doesn't exist, right? We don't know his education, his background, anything. Just, a college professor can easily get themselves on Wikipedia with their published works. And the point of that comparison is that the proof of his expertise is not his background or education. It is his book. And no one has to tell us of his expertise or that he has great ideas. We can see that ourselves in his book and in the social proof that he has for his book. And that's its importance and its power. Roll over. Yeah. So say it again. Your book is your business card. It's how you get people to contact you about your business instead of you contacting them one by one. It's how you get new clients. And the best part about it is you only have to write it once and you can use it for the rest of your career. Think of some of the best-selling self-help books out there that help people build businesses. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Even after some of these people have passed away, their books continue to sell well. And companies continue to use them to build them now that the original writer has passed on. And so the book is a very powerful tool in building your business. So the first thing we want to do is get that first draft done. Knock it out in that first week. So the mentor client, he wanted to write the book for years, and he knew how much he needed it. And he knew that, like, it would be a lot easier to just schedule some marketing than it would be to try and contact people one by one and then try and have this long conversation about what I can do for you. He knew that if he had the book, people would find it and they would read it and they would know what he could do for them. And it would bring clients to him. He would stop hunting them. They would start hunting him. And that is what you want. So on Monday, we talked about starting this process, and he agreed. We started working on Tuesday, and on Friday, he held not the first draft of his book, but he was holding the first round of revisions from his editor. So think about that. That means that in 4 days, he had a revised version of his book to look over on the weekend. And so here's a quote from Mr. Mitchell. He said, "I couldn't believe it. It was so fast. It was scary, but I loved it." Right. I even remember sitting down when we were going to start hammering out the first draft. He's like, "Whoa." He's like, "Are we ready?" I was like, "Yeah, we've been through the whole process. We have the outline. We're ready to go." Roll over.